In the recent videos we did on the BMW iX and the i4, a lot of the comments said, can you please also review the i5? You ask, we deliver. Here it is, the i5 in all its glory. My name is Peter, I make these out-of-fuel videos. Thank you for tuning in to a new one. The BMW i5 is of course the electric version of the 5 Series, and on the outside there's nothing really different except for the closed grille. We saw the same in the i4, basically a 4 Series but then electric. And this is no different as far as that goes. In case you're wondering, the color is an individual color. It has a very specific blue and a sort of speckle in the blue. It's fantastic. It costs a lot of money extra obviously, but you do have a really nice color. I hope it comes across on camera a little bit. I think it is a good looking car. The 5 Series of course is an iconic BMW shape, and in this one, this current generation, I think it is nice and streamlined evolution of the model. It looks really nice. This one specifically has a bunch of M Sport packages and a bunch of optional extras that we'll get to in a second, together with the price that comes with, of course. But I think it is quite a nice looking car. Specifically to this one is also the illuminated edge around the BMW kidneys. That is also an optional extra as it goes with BMW, but it gives you a bit of extra illumination and bling at night. Let me know in the comments below if you think that is a cool thing to do, to have an illuminated sort of front grille. A bunch of brands have been experimenting with that left and right, not really on one side or the other. I don't really think it's necessary. On the other hand, why not add a little bit of extra touch? Now, of course, the color and the illumination is one thing, but we're going to review the car as a whole. So we're going to do a tour around. I'm going to give you the inside tour, price list, of course, and we're going to take it for a drive. Now, the tour around the car obviously starts here on the front, and I think this is a good looking vehicle. Certainly not small, almost 5'10" long, 1'90" wide, and this is a big boy with 2,300 kilos. So it's a big car, it's a heavy car, but I think it is a good looking vehicle. Let me know in the comments below if you like the color combination with the silver wheels and then the chrome front on this blue. I think it looks quite nice. The wheels are 19-inch optional extra. That's a theme, as you'll see. Optional extras, and I think it looks nice in this combination, but I think this car could definitely use 20-inch as well, maybe black with a black front and then a darker, even darker paint color. That would probably look quite nice as well. Now, I'll talk to you about all the packages and M Sport details later. We have this M logo here. We have a 5 logo here on the side, so you don't forget which type of BMW you have, and there's even a 5 logo up here on the right in the door. And here you can also see, hopefully, that sparkle blue a little bit. I think that looks really nice. Now, the side profile in general, I think, is classic BMW 5 Series. Very nice, a very classic sedan shape as well. I think personally that the station wagon version of the 5 Series looks very nice too. Which one do you guys prefer? Also, let me know in the comments. But if you like this body style, I mean, obviously BMW has crossovers and SUVs as well. But I think this is nice, and it's cool that BMW still has this classic car shape. Now, when we walk to the rear, obviously, since this is not a station wagon, we are somewhat limited in terms of boot space. When we open this up, it reveals 490 liters, but you're obviously restricted with the opening on what you can fit in here. There's a little bit of space underneath the floor here as well, where we have a tire pressure kit now, but this is all you're gonna get. Now, I think this is a very usable amount of space. 490 liters is fine for most holidays, weekends away, and anything really you want to throw at it. But because you're limited to the shape of the boot, you won't be transporting any washing machines in here. But you can argue that a car that is almost 5'10" long should have a bit more space. If you look at a Skoda Superb, for example, that clearly has a lot more room. But if you want this body shape, you have to do some compromises, and the boot is one of them, even though this is fully usable on a day-to-day basis. Of course, we're doing the full cockpit tour of this BMW i5, and there is a few things you notice as soon as you get in. The first one is the position that you're sitting in as the driver. There's often cars, especially crossovers and SUVs, that you feel a little bit like sitting on top of the car. This one though, not the case at all. It's a lower car obviously because it's a sedan, but you really feel cocooned inside the car. You can see my driving position with the line of my arms and my shoulder. I'm sitting low, I'm sitting inside the vehicle. And that's really nice. It gives you confidence to use this car, confidence to put it into corners, and it's all around very pleasant way to drive. That does come with the downside that it doesn't feel very spacious in here. It is a big vehicle, but it's certainly not the most airy cabin I've ever been in. For example, the headroom here, it's only this much, and I'm only 1.83 meters. And yeah, the space for my feet, the space for my legs, all around it doesn't feel very large. I think that's mainly due to this transmission tunnel that's obviously a legacy of the regular 5 Series. This doesn't need to be here. This can be done much more airy and ergonomical, but because it's based on the normal 5 Series, this has to be here. And the same goes for the transmission tunnel in the back. So that is, yeah, it's certainly not the biggest space feeling I've ever had in a vehicle here. But sitting here, you really feel where your money went, because this is an expensive feeling cabin. Everything feels nice to the touch, everything feels high quality, everything feels properly put together. From the seats to the steering wheel to the navigation, everything feels expensive. And it is expensive, so I think that it's good that it feels like that quality that you want from a car in this category. It's not perfect though. There are some things I have fundamental problems with. First of all, you can probably see this coming if you follow this channel, is the extensive use of piano black. It is such a disaster. It is a terrible material to begin with, but it is on all the surfaces that you touch the most. So the center console is constantly smudgy because that's one slab of piano black. The steering wheel buttons are piano black, and the window control unit is piano black. All the things that you're constantly touching. It baffles me that somebody took the decision to put it in this way. Because it has been grimy ever since I picked this car up, and it will probably never be clean. Now, I know some of you in the comments have said that you can put a sticker on it or some kind of spray, or I shouldn't be complaining about this so much. Now, I'm sure all those solutions are very valid, but if I'm paying 85,000 euros for a car, I want it to be nice all the time, and I don't want to run around with a cloth every time I get out the car to clean it. So that is a disaster. The second mistake, I think, and I say mistake on purpose, is the extensive use of capacitive buttons. And I'll give you an example. So we have regular buttons for the windows and the mirror control. Good, awesome. 4 buttons for the windows, a little drip head for your mirrors, exactly the way you want it. But then there's a set of capacitive buttons here above for the seat memory and locking the doors. Weird choice, but it does look very streamlined and elegant, of course, until you realize that's actually a theme, and things over here like the light control, but also the ventilation control, are all capacitive as well. Then you move to the middle of the car, more ventilation control in capacitive form, but also your demisting and your rear window heating are capacitive, as is the emergency button. And it just doesn't work well enough. It is a solution to a problem that didn't exist. And I understand that it's all smooth and all touchy and it looks all much nicer in some way on paper maybe, but in real life I don't think it looks that good, and it requires too much thinking. So for example, this ventilation control, it's a bit of a slider thingy. So fine, but it requires me to look at it, touch it, look at it again to see if my touch has registered, and then the action can occur. And that's too much work. And before you guys go crazy in the comments saying that I shouldn't complain, it's not much work, it's all the same. It just isn't. It is not as reliable as a slider, and it is not as functional. Especially not because this one in particular only controls the amount of air that is coming out. And then if I want to change the direction, I have to do it with this rubber scroll wheel down here that seems to come from a 1990s computer mouse. So it is almost like 2 people designed a solution and they couldn't agree which one to pick, so they picked both, and then the worst part of each solution. So it's really something that brings the whole cabin down, even despite the fact that this is a high quality cabin. That these kind of things are just not logical, and I don't understand why this is here. Now, that's the complaining. Other than that, this is a great cabin. Starting with the seats, they are very, very comfortable. Of course, you have this little M logo here because these are some kind of special version of the seats, heated, cooled, ventilated, the whole thing. It is a nice place to sit, 19-fold adjustable, of course, so I can get comfortable. Even with my broad shoulders, I fit in it nice and easy. Also for longer journeys, I am very comfortable here. Then looking straight ahead, I have the quite large heated steering wheel, very comfortable. to hold, very nice to drive, and you really feel like you're grabbing the car to go for a drive. So that is nice too, because this is a sort of a powerful vehicle, even in this medium spec, and you want to feel that you're in control of your vehicle. So that is quite nice. On the steering wheel, however, are capacitive buttons. I don't like that, but there's also a up and down button for your cruise control speed and a scroll wheel for your menus and so on. Also behind the steering wheel is the boost pedal. It's like a shifter pedal, but only one, and it gives you a bit of overboost and a few extra horsepowers. Now I think this is nonsense, because this car only has 400 horsepower, and I certainly don't need a pedal to access all of that. I would rather have another centimeter travel in my throttle pedal, so I can, use the power accordingly. I've not had a situation this week that I've had this car now that I sat somewhere and thought, now when he moves over, I'm going to hit my boost pedal and go flying by. It doesn't really add anything. If you're in Formula 1 and you need to push the pass button, fine. If you're in some kind of 1000 horsepower EV where you can jump from 800 to 1000 temporarily, also fine, but it doesn't really add anything in this case. What does add something is the driver's display. That is great. It's a very nice and big, bright display that you can configure in about 1 million different ways, from your maps to your performance to your regen braking. Anything you want, you can have. So that's cool. Really works well, although it's not the prettiest system I've ever seen. That's a personal opinion for sure. The system works really great, but I don't visually like it that much. What I do visually like is the middle screen. The fact that it is a wide screen rather than a tall screen is actually quite nice. This is not a very high car, so if you put a giant iPad, it would have taken up most of the center. But now it sort of looks elegant and as part of the dashboard, so that's quite nice. And of course, this screen has the latest and greatest BMW software, which can be a bit too deep for my taste. I said the same in the BMW iX. If I go to the app drawer, for example, it is 6 apps wide and 7 rows long. So there's 42 apps only on the main screen already. So that is quite a lot. And you sometimes have to dig a little bit too long for a setting that you think might be somewhere but ends up being somewhere else. And I think even if you have this car for a while and you start going into this, you'll still find new options. But it is fast, it has everything you want, of course, and you can control the entire experience from this screen. Controlling is something you will also do with the center button here. You have a bunch of shortcuts for media, phone, and navigation and home, and you have a rotary dial to go through everything. From zooming into your maps to selecting apps to selecting options, anything can be done with this rotary dial. Actually really nice. I said the same about several Mazdas and also about the other BMWs that had this system. It is very pleasant to be driving, watching the road, of course, and sort of use your fingertips to operate things on the screen without having to focus, find your touch target, push it, see if your action registered, and then refocus on the road. That's a lot of steps you need to take in order to do an action. With this, you can sort of glide through, zoom, click, you have physical feedback on what's happening, and you know something has been done, and it requires a lot less attention and focus to get something done. So that's nice, and I think that is a nice way to operate while you're on the go. Completing the center console, we have 2 wireless chargers, 2 cup holders, and of course the start-stop button, gear selector, or drive selector rather, a parking button, auto hold button, and here a split opening for a little bit of storage. Also your 12-volt connection is in here. So that's the cockpit. It is a nice place to be. It's high quality, it's ergonomically sound, everything works well, but I think those capacitive things are a mistake. They don't really add to the experience, and they even are frustrating at times. So I think that's too bad, but all around it is a good place to sit and drive, and that is of course what this car is all about. Now, obviously, I got to show you how I fit in the rear. As you can see, I'm sitting behind myself with 1.83 m and it fits. But for a car that is almost 5.10 m long, you would expect a little bit more. All around it fits, like no issues. I have plenty of room to the seat in front of me. I can fit my feet under the seat, also fine. But it's not sort of cavernous in here. And something to notice is that the seats are hard on the back. I don't understand why the manufacturers keep doing that. It makes no sense to me in any way, shape or form. So that gets uncomfortable as soon as you start touching it. And also the headroom is not that much. There's about this much space left for me. Then finally we have the charging port here on the back right where it belongs. And there we can charge with 11 kilowatts at home and with 205 kilowatts fast charging. According to BMW, that means we can charge the 81 kilowatt hour battery in 30 minutes from 10 to 80%, which is fine, but nothing more than that. 205 kilowatts of charging in a car as it sits here that is approaching 90k. Mwah, that is not terrible and certainly very usable, but if you look at the Chinese and the Korean manufacturers, that is not really up to par anymore in this category. If you can get a car for half the price that can charge more than twice as fast, yeah, I think that is not a good look at the fast charging station. Now, before everybody in the comments loses their minds and says that ultra fast charging is useless and you never do it anyway because you charge at home if you have a car like this, yes, absolutely true, but when you do have to fast charge, you want to be able to do it as fast as humanly possible. And then 200 kilowatts is just not fast enough anymore in this day and age. So 200 is certainly very usable, but it should be faster. Of course, no review is complete without a little bit of driving, and you join me on the highway after we've just stopped for a little bit of fast charging. Here, obviously, the natural habitat for a car this size and weight. It is a very pleasant place to travel. It's quiet in here, it's comfortable, the seats are really nice, like I mentioned earlier. It's just a pleasant place to be once you have everything set up the way you like it. It's a good long distance cruiser, although if I look at my state of charge at the moment, 45%, and we have 177 kilometers of range according to the computer. So, you know, in the real world, with 5 degrees outside at the moment, you're looking at 400-ish kilometers of range, which is, you know, not the best. But in summer temperatures, you can obviously go over that, because unfortunately batteries still suffer from cold weather. When you do drive this car around for a week like I have now, you do notice on occasion that the fundamentals of this car are very well sorted. The long sweeping corners on and off the highway, for example, you can feel that stability in the chassis, and you can feel that the car is always in control of itself. And that also gives you the confidence to feel in control of the car, which is nice. And obviously this one has four-wheel drive and good rubber and a good amount of power. So, you know, it's very confidence inspiring when you start to move this car around a little bit. Is it a true driver's car? Don't really think so. A car this size, a car that weighs more than 2,300 kilos without me in it, I don't really think that is to be classified as a true driver's car. It is a car that's well sorted for sure, but yeah, purely for driving pleasure, you're not gonna buy a vehicle like this. You know, because on top of that, an EV is still a slightly sterile driving experience. Yeah, I don't think that this car falls in that category necessarily. But it is pleasant to drive and pleasant to maneuver around. Here on the highway, of course, also when you take it into a smaller environment like a city, yeah, you have a big vehicle around you, so, you know, parking, underground structures and so on. I often mention that in my reviews. With a car this size, it's not impossible, but it does require a bit of patience and poise sometimes. But the car especially is not very wide, with 1.90 m only, quote unquote. So, you know, it is relatively easy to park and maneuver. So that's nice, although I would not pick this vehicle at all just to take my kids to school, because there's way cheaper and better vehicles for that. All around though, the driving experience is nice, everything is pleasant, everything is nice to operate, it's quiet in here, so it's a very nice experience. Little downside is that there's no rear wiper. I forgot to mention that on the outside part. That is ridiculous, because I'm sure with the heating, it's the water vaporizes instantly and it all blows off here on the highway. Absolutely true. But in the morning, when you have to back out of your parking spot and your window is wet, you don't see anything, and that sucks. And I'm sure, yeah, of course you have cameras, I get it, but you know, it's annoying that I can't see out without having to sit there for 5 minutes first to heat up my window. So it's just not okay. The car should have a rear wiper. All around, it's a good car. I like it. It's nice to drive. Like at no point in the week that I've had this car now, I've had the feeling like, oh, this is, you know, in any situation it feels out of place or anything. Obviously we got to talk pricing because that can get tricky quite quickly with BMW. But bear with me. The i5 starts with the xDrive40. So that's eDrive, rear wheel drive only, for 70,000 euros and change here in the Netherlands. You do get 340 horsepower and you go from 0 to 100 in 6 seconds. This one is the xDrive40, so you get 4-wheel drive. And then you pay 76,500 euro for 394 horsepower. And that means you go a little bit faster. You go from 0 to 100 in 5.4 seconds. Then, if you want to go crazy, you can go for the i5 M60 xDrive, so also 4-wheel drive, but a lot more horsepower, 601. You do go from 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds, so that's a lot faster than this one. But the starting price for that is almost 105,000 euros. So that is quite the gap in between those. Now, all three versions have the same 81 kilowatt hour battery pack and have the same charging speed underneath. Then this car in particular, as it sits here, we have that Transanet metallic color for 2,000 euro extra. We have the comfort pack for 2,000 euro extra for seat ventilation, electric seats, heated seats and 4-zone air conditioning. We have the M Sport package. We pay 2,500 euro for that. We have the wheels for 529. We have the interior trim here for 300. We have a heated steering wheel for 300. We have the iconic glow package, which is around the grille, for nearly 500, and a few taxes, a few costs to get the car ready, and so on. Recycling costs and everything else for a grand total for this car as it sits here for 85,337 euros and 62 cents. For that money though, you do have the middle of the range, which I think is a nice option. The E40 we drove in the i4 is fine, the same powertrain as this effectively, but without the 4-wheel drive. If you do want the 4-wheel drive though, then this is the one to go for, because the M60 gets quite leery in terms of horsepower, and especially leery when it comes to the price. I think this is quite the value proposition in between those two. If you want 4-wheel drive, which I think you do want for this kind of size and power car. It is quite nice, and then yeah, that's what it's going to cost you. I do want to ask a genuine question before we end this video about the competition of this car. As it sits here, it costs 85,000 euro, which is a huge chunk of money. And considering that it only charges at 200 kilowatts, it only has an 81 kilowatt hour battery, there's not that much space in the rear, there's not that much space in the boot, the range isn't that impressive, the tech is good, works fine, but nothing groundbreaking or nothing that will blow you away. There's no panoramic roof, there's no head-up display. So, you know, there's a lot of things that aren't here and that are also not in any way spectacular. Now, in a vacuum, that might not be an issue, and maybe if you look at the traditional competition of this car from Mercedes and Audi, you know, that sort of generally keeps itself on balance with each other. But if you look at the new competitors from Asia, from China, from Korea, it becomes slightly more problematic. I'm sometimes accused of being an XPeng fanboy because I have one myself, but you know, a few videos ago we were in Brussels and XPeng unveils a P7 Plus, and that costs 46,000, has more than twice as fast charging, has head-up display, more tech, panoramic roof, a lot more space in the back, like by a margin, a lot more space in the boot, for 40k less. And if you start looking at cars like that, this proposition for this car at this price point becomes problematic. In all, like genuinely, I think this is an actual problem. Because if you look at those two cars, I mean, maybe you cannot compare the brand experience on the same level quite yet. But for 40,000 euro less, you get a lot more car with a lot more everything, basically. So I genuinely want to ask you guys in the comments how you see that, how do you feel about that? Is the value, where's the value proposition for this car at this price point? Is that a proposition that can still be made in any way, shape or form? Because I'm struggling to justify the price tag for this car. I'm sure BMW has the heritage and the history and the engineering prowess and everything, but it's not that the Chinese manufacturers have no quality engineering these days. So where does the money go? I'm really struggling to make that business case. So if you guys have any clear insights on that, please do let me know. Now personally, if I was a BMW fan, I wanted to get a 5 Series, I would get the station version because I have 2 kids, 8 and 11, and we do all our holidays by car. So for me, the station wagon would offer a little bit more practicality and a little bit more space, especially in the boot. And all around, like I said, in a vacuum, this is a good car, but yeah, at no point it impresses me so much that I think it's worth the 85,000 euro price tag. So that might be a slightly awkward way to end the video, but I'm genuinely curious on how you guys see that equation play out over the next few years. That's all I got for you in this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Let me know in the comments below how you feel. And of course, give the channel a sub because we can use all subscribers and there's a lot more cool videos coming this year. Trips, media drives, test drives, in-depth videos and everything else you can imagine. So if you want to stick around for that, it is much appreciated. For now, thank you for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!